problem and solution. So I want you to really listen to what happens in the story for our assignment, okay? It's a good book. You'll like it if you haven't read it. So, everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on one little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. So who do we think's talking here? Jasmine?
The wolf.
The wolf. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Way back and once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So like many of you right now have the sniffles too. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house of straw? So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. That's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed and I snuffed. Who knows what's going to happen? Ready? Blew the house down? And I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of the pile of straw was the first little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it, a big cheeseburger just lying there. What would you do?
Eat
it? I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, Wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down, just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail, Wolf's honor. So what do you think's going to happen now? Sonia?
He's gonna eat the pig and he's gonna go to the next house.
You think there's a next house?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better. And I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He has built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house, no answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that rude little porker answered? Get out of here, Wolf, don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had the whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear sweet old granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed once again. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can sit on a pin." Isn't that mean? What do you think's gonna happen? Think it's gonna fall down? No? Now I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down this pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. See all the reporters? The rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting, so they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me a big bad wolf. That's it, the real story. I was framed. But maybe you can loan me a cup of sugar? And that's the story. Did you guys like the story? Yes. Okay, so we're going to discuss a little bit some of the problems that happened, and then for your activity, you are going to come up with a solution. Because obviously his solution didn't work. He ended up in jail. So what were some problems that we heard?
A problem was that he didn't have any sugar.
He didn't have any sugar is the first problem, yes. Jean-Marie?
And he had a cold.
He had a cold, okay.
He got framed.
He got framed from who?
The news reporters.
From the news reporters. What else?
He ate the pigs.
He ate the pigs. That's a big problem to them, right? And Jasmine?
He was just trying to get a cup of sugar, but they're all being mean to him. And when one of the pigs, I'm talking about his grandma, he went all berserk, and then he got framed for it, and then he got in jail.
He did. So what about the pigs then? What was a problem for them?
2 of them got eaten.
Why do you think they got eaten?
Because they didn't build their house was very strong. And the wolf thought they were dead.
They were dead because
They were?
their house fell, yeah. It was a big destruction.
Okay. Well, 5 o'clock. Okay, you can cut that.
Okay, let's have a few more problems.
Another problem was the pigs thought that he was mean.
The pigs thought he was mean. That is a big problem because if they would have just opened the door, maybe nothing would have happened, right? Yes.
He ran. The wolf ran out of sugar for his granny's birthday cake.
Yes,
There
very
was a
good.
party in the
All right, we're
back.
gonna take 2 more.
I think the wolf was just hungry, so he ate him.
You think that he was just hungry and that was his problem?
That's how animals are. They're not trying to make me. They're just hungry.
Okay.
I thought that when the pig called his told his grandmother to sit on a pin was a problem.
That was another problem. Very good. Okay. When we go back to our seats, I'm going to hand out a worksheet that has 2 puzzle pieces on it. On one of the puzzle pieces, you're going to write a problem, and the one that connects to it is going to be your solution. But only you know the solution to the problem, okay? So you're going to pick one that you talked about or another one. You can raise your hand and we can discuss it, and then you're going to have a solution, okay? So the back row may go sit down. And the next back row, yes?
Go sit down.
There is a solution to those problems, yes. And you may go sit down. We're going to share our solutions with each other as well, so don't worry. You'll figure it out.